Hey there, welcome to Old Man Runner. In today's video, I'm going to talk about losing 23 kilograms or about 50 pounds in weight, about the size of an average suitcase, in a year. First, I'm going to tell you why I did it, then I'm going to tell you how I did it, and then finally go through the techniques and the technology that I used to get there, and hopefully provide some tips that are useful for you. The first thing to say is that what works for me might not work for you. We've all got different metabolisms and different body types. And so I'm making this to show what I did, and it may work. But as the old advert in Ireland used to be from Dr. Anthony Clare, take your doctor's advice, it's the best medicine. So those caveats out of the way, I made a little video of trying to quantify what 23 kilograms or 50 pounds is. Now, in general on airlines, on United, on American Airlines, on Lufthansa, it's 23 kilograms or 50 pounds. Not an exact match, but not far off. And Aer Lingus, funny enough, it's 25 kilograms. But to give you an idea what 23 kilograms looks like, I'm going to make a little video. And then I'm hopefully going to try and run. The video is about packing a suitcase so that it all weighs 23 kilograms. And then I go short run to see how difficult that is. First, we're going to take the Carbon X SPEs with the Stride footpod. And then I'm going to take my Clifton Edges, because it could be uncertain ground, it could be running in the dark. God knows where I'm going. Take those next. Then I'm going to stick in the on-running Cloud Ventures, my top 3 shoes. So I'm going to take those in case it's wet, need to run through stuff, rearrange the suitcase a bit. Otherwise, all these shoes and everything else isn't going to fit. So do a bit of rearranging. So they're all nicely aligned. Then I'm going to take my Brooks Transcends for lopey, lazy days, cushy days. And then the Hyperions for a couple of tempos. There could be a marathon going. So let's bring my New Balance Fuel Cell Elite. To camouflage myself in with some lizards with these on-running Cloud Stratus. Then I've got some UFOs for relaxing days, or maybe as a beach. And then, well, these are the shoes I got to review next week. So we'll keep them hidden for the moment. Pack those in. Then my on-running hybrid gear. These are great for lounging around in. I'll do a review soon. Then I might want to swim, so the liners are good for that. And they got pockets in them. And then there's the outer shorts for carrying my wallet, etc. and running. And then waterproof day. So that's the on-running stuff. Then I'm going to take my Under Armour lovely pink t-shirt that I like too much. Then all my Soar running tops. Put all of those in there. Then I'm going to, well, you know, bring a snood that matches. Got to bring some underwear and some Under Armour liners. Then for lounging around in, because I really do like lounging around this, my Nike Dry Fits, really comfortable for that. Some Rocky socks, ankle medium compression, some hats. In case I'm running naked but want to carry a card, I can stick that in a Janji hat. Then some ProViz stuff for when it's reflective at night. And then, because I've got a whole load of more ProViz stuff in the envelope here. And then my Salomon running vest if I need to carry stuff, a lot of stuff. And because 2020, 2021, where'd you be without a mask and a set of gloves? Oh, I might need to eat something. So let's pack the thing full of Mortons. So that should be pretty much, oh, and in case my family are watching, a toothbrush. Okay, so even after filling the suitcase full of all my lightweight running gear, I only got to 16 kilograms, 7 to go. So let's have a bit of light reading material. So some works of James Joyce Dubliners. We'll pack in A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. We'll go with Ulysses. More Ulysses. More Ulysses. A little bit more Ulysses. Another version of Ulysses. An early version of Ulysses. Some Finnegan's Wake, just to add weight. And just so, you know, in case that's a lot of dense reading, we'll take something lightweight to go with us. We'll bring the Bill James Historical Baseball Abstract. Okay, ooh, so that's another 7 kilograms of books, bringing the total weight of our suitcase to 23 kilograms. So now I'm going to try and run carrying the 23 kilogram suitcase. Now, obviously, your weight isn't always... it's not like it's distributed at the front like I'm carrying a suitcase. It's sort of a general blobbiness, fat. So we'll have a look at this and see how awful it is to try and run with these 23 kilograms. So that was probably a little bit silly and a bit long-winded, but it gives you an idea of how much stuff or what 23 kilograms actually weighs. It's the suitcase, all the running gear, and all the books. 23 kilograms or 50 pounds. Like many men of a certain age, and I'm 57, I had gained weight over the years. I used to be running a lot when I was younger, and I just thought it was natural to get a beer belly, get fat, get a bit slower. And I'd had a couple of goes of trying to get into running and it hadn't really worked. And I'd been in China where I met my great friend, Professor Zhao, and in Ireland, a good friend of mine, Joe, both independently sort of pointed to my belly and told me I could stand to lose a few pounds, to use the phrase. And the thing was, they were right, and I really appreciated it. So I thought that was on my mind. My motivation also was that I'd set up in 2014, I wanted to go running. And I'm not the kind of person who can just go out and run. I need some sort of reason to go running. And so I'd set up I decided to turn the works of James Joyce, the Irish author, into half marathons. Now, that's a long story is why I did it. And I set up a website, jj21k.com, and you can have a look if you want to. And there's also an associated running channel, and I'm going to try and do more videos on. But for the moment, I decided that I was going to turn the 4 books into half marathons. And I worked my way through them. The last book, the hardest book, is called Finnegan's Wake. And the route for this half marathon that I advised was out and over Howth Head, which is in Dublin. And Howth Head, it's about 600 feet of climbing, or about 200 meters, and all coming at about 15k, so very near the end of the 21k run. So you run out around the Swerve Shore and Benda Bay, and then you've got to go up and over Howth Head. I knew that to try and get over the hill in what was then my weight of about 97 kilograms was going to be difficult. I'd hurt my knee when I was running in Mississippi at Christmas, and I actually needed to go and get an arthroscopy on the knee, which is a minor knee surgery, which I got done at the superb Santry Sports Clinic here in Dublin. So I got that done, but the motivation behind it all was to get over Howth Head on my 21 kilometer Finnegan's Wake half marathon. What will I do to lose weight? I decided to measure inputs and outputs. If the inputs, the food in calories, equals the outputs in energy expended, then I'll stay the same weight. If the inputs exceed the outputs, then I'll gain weight. And if the outputs exceed the inputs, I'll lose weight. That was the basic plan. So I had to figure out a way of getting the outputs to be greater than the inputs. We all have opinions about food. It's comfort food, it's this, it's that, or the other. But essentially, food is fuel. And just like when you park your car and fill it with fuel, if you don't drive anywhere, the fuel will just keep flowing over onto the forecourt. If you leave and you drive too far without filling it again, it'll run out of fuel. So there's a balance, and we all know how to do that in relation to fueling our cars. But in terms of our bodies, it's pretty much the same. If you don't actually take any exercise, or you don't have any outputs, and you keep putting in the inputs, you'll overflow in the form of a lot of fat will happen. And if you don't get the balance right, you could also run out of energy, bonking, etc., etc., etc. So it's trying to match the inputs with the outputs. Let's look at some tech and some techniques. Let's look at the tech first. So the first thing I wanted to do was to use some metrics to measure stuff. So I wanted to measure my inputs. So to do that, I was using calories. We're probably all familiar with calories, so it's a unit of energy. So you can measure inputs in calories, and you can measure outputs in calories. So typically the inputs I would measure with MyFitnessPal, which is, it used to be owned by Under Armour, but I was using the free version, and you measure the food that goes in terms of calories, and then you measure the outputs. So any step program that's on your phone, I use Withings or Withings. There's also stuff on the watch, and there's all sorts of ways of measuring the steps. In fact, sometimes there's so many ways that they conflict. But once you've got an established way of measuring your outputs in terms of calories and your inputs in terms of calories, that's the start. I use this thing a lot. It's a drop scale. And on this, I weighed the food that I was going to eat. So portion control is a big thing. And I was trying to figure out, you know, how much of it I was eating, so I'd weigh my food. This is a very simple little thing, and it connects to an interface on your phone. Very easy to weigh food. That's what I got it for. It's actually designed to be a whole menu system, but to be honest, most of the time I spend my time weighing shoes on this. But this is a fantastic little piece of kit. I mean, there's various types around. So that was helping me measure the inputs. And with MyFitnessPal, then I could work it out. MyFitnessPal is also really good because it scans. You can scan food, barcodes. I've scanned stuff as far away as China. I've scanned stuff in Central Europe and in Poland, and lots of stuff. Even if you can't read what's on the written in the language that you don't speak, actually MyFitnessPal will scan most of it and still tell you what's in it. Assuming that I'm measuring on the inputs, which is the drop scale and the MyFitnessPal, and then I'm measuring the outputs in terms of steps. How do I know if I'm getting anywhere? So one way then to measure whether you're having any success is to take this is the Withings body scale. You can get them from Withings, or they're sold in the Apple store in the US. I saw it in Chicago. I generally get it off Withings. But there's a variety of different ones, but that'll tell you your weight. What I tried to do was establish a pattern that's repeatable. So I don't typically use a particular type of diet. I simply wanted to look at the inputs, look at the outputs, make sure one exceeded the other in such a way that I started to lose weight. And once I started to do that, to be able to establish that pattern and repeat it. And if you repeat it, then the weight should fall, and then you've got to get to a level that you want it to be. So that was what my plan was, establish a pattern. That's the first thing you got to do. I weighed myself twice a day. Most people will weigh themselves once a day, but I think it's important to weigh yourself twice a day. And the reason for that is in the morning, you'll be at your lightest. And then as you eat throughout the day, and you will be exercising, but you will typically be heavier towards the evening. And so when you weigh yourself in the evening, you'll be heavier than the morning. And what I found was, knowing I was trying to lose weight during the day and knowing that I was going to be heavier later that day, that helped me use a piece of motivation to stop having that extra slice of cake or whatever it was that I was trying to do. So I think measuring yourself twice a day, and then when you get up in the morning, you will be lighter than the night before. Unless something very strange has happened. I weigh myself, typically I get up in the morning, naked just with the glasses on so that I can actually read the scales. It sends the data to the phone, but every now and then I want to make sure that it's me that's registered on it, and the screen does silly things like wish you happy new year. But just to check that the data is actually there, I usually just stick the pair of glasses on. In the night, I reverse the process, get all the kit off, stick the pair of glasses, well, they're always on anyway, stand on the scale, and then do that repeatedly. And so what you're trying to do is make sure that it's consistent. So you may have a different method, maybe you're all entirely in clothes, but they've got to weigh the same, or you're going to skew the metrics somehow. One of the things about when people are trying to lose weight is they start talking about what they're not going to eat. They're going to have dry January, or they're going to have, they're not going to eat bread. My nephew Jack said, "Are you going to eat bread?" And I thought, hang on a second, that's not how this works. I started at 0. I decided, right, okay, let's start at 0 and then work out what we're going to put in. Forget what we're not going to eat. Let's start about what we are going to eat. So I started from that end and worked my way up. And then one of the oddities was, before I lost any of the weight, and I was 97 kilograms, I think, at the start. Before I lost any weight, I didn't eat breakfast. It was just something I didn't do. I don't have a craving for food all the time but anyway, I would still eat it anyway, but I didn't eat breakfast. But as soon as I took that approach of starting from 0, I thought, right, okay, I started to eat breakfast, which I now eat every day. And of course, at night, when you're lighter than you were, and maybe a little bit hungrier than you used to be, you will look forward to your breakfast in the morning. But I found that was one of the slightly counterintuitive pieces of the process. Portion control is really important. I eat really fast. I mean, people say I inhale my food. It's just gone. But of course, if you eat like that, then you get through things very quickly. But one of the things I decided to do was portion control. So I decided to use a smaller spoon. So instead of the tablespoon or the dessert spoon, the teaspoon, and instead of the larger bowl, well, eat from the smaller bowl. And okay, it might be silly, but it might be one of the easiest things. But you know what? It works. It took me the same amount of time to eat my breakfast with this small bowl and the small spoon as a big spoon and a big bowl. So maybe that'll work for you. Shop on a full stomach. Don't go to the store hungry. You'll just buy all sorts of crap. And of course, what you don't buy, you can't eat, unless you've got some other mechanism and you grow your own. But largely speaking, you go out, if you go out hungry, you'll buy all sorts of crap. So it's probably great. I mean, it's lovely chocolate and all sorts of stuff. But you'll eat all, and then you'll come home, and while something's cooking, you'll eat all that. So go shopping on a relatively full stomach. You're gonna have to do some math, and you're gonna we say maths here, and you're gonna have to look at calories. So a typical adult female uses 2,000 a day, a typical adult male 2,500 a day. I set the balance, split the difference, 2250 as a sort of general guide. Now, assuming you do no exercise, then that's as much calories as you can get. Now, the more exercise you do, it's kind of like buying more calories. So you can add more calories, and therefore you can eat. You're going to need to eat more if you're doing exercise. So Sir Steve Redgrave, I think, got through 7,000 calories or thereabouts a day when he was doing his Olympic rowing. So depending on the amount of outputs, you can increase the inputs, always trying to maintain a balance. And in my case, as I was trying to lose weight, I wanted to make sure that the outputs exceeded the inputs. Photograph your food. So you go out with friends or whatever, and you get home the following day and you can't remember exactly what you ate. Just take a quick picture of it, or you're out to lunch, or you're eating something that's got 12 different ingredients in it. Just photograph the food, come back at a later stage and try and put it into MyFitnessPal. There is a kind of thing now that it can try and scan a meal, but I haven't used that. But essentially, when you go out, photograph the food, very quick to do, and then you can come back in later stage, store it up. Don't eat between meals. Okay, everyone knows this. Grazing is for cattle, okay? Don't eat between meals. All that will happen is that it'll be harder to meet your targets. If you decide not to eat between the meals, and this relates to not buying the stuff at the store, then what happens is you look forward to each meal. You really will be looking forward to some of these meals when you're trying to lose weight. And that'll give you added motivation. But as soon as you start eating between meals, I don't think it works. Inputs only go so far, outputs go way further. So let's look at some of those. Well, the first thing is what I like to call the journey of 10,000 steps. Okay, there's lots of guides that say try and do 10,000 steps a day walking. And I found that the most beneficial. In fact, since the pandemic, I'm really only running for exercise. I'm not doing the walking to work and the walking around. So that has an effect. But typically, try and walk 10,000 steps. It'll be hard at first, but then try and do those. And I find that's actually a better base layer than anything else you can do. The next thing you can do is really useful is cycling. Now, I used an indoor bike when I had the arthroscopy, or was waiting for the arthroscopy. I didn't want to put any weight on my knee, but I found by using a stationary exercise bike, they were really, really good. I was really able to sit there. And of course, on a stationary exercise bike, you can watch YouTube videos. Maybe you are. For hours, well, not hours, but you can, forever long you're on the bicycle, you can watch YouTube videos. And it's a great way of losing weight whilst your body is being supported and you're not doing any damage to your limbs. Once you then lose the weight, or you've got your arthroscopy, or you're on the way, then of course the running is brilliant in terms of maintaining it, in terms of increasing the outputs. But initially I start with the walking, then the cycling, then the running. So once you've established your pattern, and for me it would be up in the day, during the day, then down, then up and down. And I would sort of seesaw my way down. What I call the cliff of weight loss. And you can have a look at it here on the Withings app. And you can see that I started, now start high. So the starting one is where I've attended a stag party or a bachelor party down in Dingle, where, you know, it's a load of guys all in one room, believe it or not. Remember those days? And then you could, then we would go out and drink a lot of beer, etc., etc. That's when you're at your heaviest. My lowest was when I was actually just doing my marathon training in the summer. So that's the highest and that's the lowest. And you can see it go down, up and down all the way along. But once I'd established a pattern, I knew it was repeatable. And so then you get great confidence. Just keep going like this and it's going to happen. So I started at 97 kilograms or thereabouts. And then you got to think, well, it's going down. Where will I go to? Now on the Withings app, there's lines that say overweight. And there's a sort of band that you're supposed to sit within, I guess. And I'm kind of going down thinking, okay, 97 and I'll go down. And you get to 95, then you get to 90, and you keep it going on, and it's zigzagging up and down. It goes up a bit when you're traveling, and it goes down a bit. And, you know, obviously when you're doing various things, more bachelor parties or whatever, but it's going down. Then you think, all right, well, as I go down my cliff of weight loss, I'm gonna have to level out. And where am I gonna level out? And I just kept going, and then I decided to get to 85, and then I thought, well, I'll go to 80, and then you got into this habit, but you think, well, I gotta sort of pull out of this thing somehow. And I somehow decided that I wanted to be at 77.2. I've no idea where I got this figure from, but I just decided that that was the figure I want to be at. And now what I do is I make sure I go up and down around 77.2, and it flattens out. And of course, the way to flatten it out is either you decrease the outputs, which I don't recommend, or you increase the inputs. So essentially you can have a couple more treats here and there, or do a little bit less output. So you work out a balance. I'm doing a lot of outputs because I'm trying to do marathon running. The lowest I got down to was 73 kilograms or thereabouts when I was in the middle of marathon training in the middle of summer. Typically what I've noticed is that you're heavier in the winter, so you seem to be lighter in the summer. Now, I think I'm not sure, but if I go out running, so I tested it for 2 hours this weekend, went out running in midwinter, I guess, and I will lose half a kilogram an hour, or about every 10K, an easy run. But if it was in the summer, I would lose double that. And whether it's to do with the fact that you perspire more in winter, I don't know. Or in the summer, I don't know. But in reality, or whether it's you're indoors more and you're eating more, I don't know. But it does seem to go up a little bit more in the wintertime. Obesity is the disease. so also are bulimia, anorexia, and I don't want to make light of them. I mean, I enjoy making the videos, I enjoy losing the weight, but these are serious issues. And as I said at the start, take your doctor's advice. It's the best medicine. I mean, usually I'd say stay off. When it's me, I say stay off the internet. Don't read any or don't watch any of those videos of those guys. But these techniques work for me, and some of them may work for you. But again, consult a physician and do sensible stuff. I hope you did find the video useful. There'll be some links to subscribe button, and the blue button will pop up, and then some videos will pop up here. But thanks for watching. Until the next video, just keep running along.